One of the few female influencers I follow in terms of business or alpha male 2.0 stuff is this person you see on the screen here. I'm going to play a clip in a second, and I'm going to cover some of the comments on this clip. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, don't worry, I'll explain it all. This is Teal Swan. Like her a lot. I think she's very smart. I don't agree with literally everything that comes out of her mouth, but very smart, very intuitive. She's probably the only woman I would have on my Alpha Male 2.0 YouTube channel as a guest. Maybe I should do that at some point. She never really talks about non-monogamy. She more talks about men-woman dynamics and things like that. But in this clip, she is talking about non-monogamy. And I'm going to play this for you and give you some analysis on this and some responses to this. And then I'm going to go through some of the comments that people posted on this video, which makes it even worse. But here we go.
Where I see everybody going, especially with the Gen Z, I see people going in the direction where they're straying away from monogamy, and those dynamics are going to be less and less and less common. What I mean by this is that.
So yes, I have noted that myself. I first noticed around, I would say 2019, about 6 years ago, younger people, particularly people under the age of about 25-ish, a lot of women, and some men, but a lot of women, and women seems that women have instigated this with the younger folks, but a lot of girls who are in non-monogamous relationships, and it's not necessarily like polyamorous relationships. That's not really what I'm seeing a lot of. But what I'm seeing a lot of is young girl gets a boyfriend, but fucks guys on the side, tells boyfriend, and boyfriend just has to put up with it. I'm seeing a lot of that. Started seeing that, and again, 2019, 2018-ish. Now I see it all over the place. In the Western world, I'm talking about now. Several variations. One is girl dates multiple guys, but tells all the guys she's fucking all these guys. That's one variation, not as common. Common variation is, hot, not even hot. 24-year-old girl gets 26-year-old beta male boyfriend, and 24-year-old girl says, I'm going to fuck other guys. Otherwise, and if you don't like it, I'll break up with you. And the beta male boyfriend goes, but okay. And he just puts up with it. Another one very common as the West continues to collapse and as the economics get worse and worse and worse, especially for younger people. The West has basically destroyed, America in particular, has destroyed younger people's ability to buy a home and do basic things like this and eat. So another commonality I started noticing a few years ago is with sugar daddy girls. Hot 24-year-old, 23-year-old, 22-year-old gets a beta male 25-year-old boyfriend. She says, look, you're my boyfriend. I love you, but you're poor and I need cash because I'm a girl. So I'm going to go fuck this old man and he's going to give me money and you're going to put up with it. Or if you don't like it, I'll break up with you. And of course, the beta male boyfriend goes, but good, but I didn't continue. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of this. So she's absolutely right. More and more of this. And by the way, 15 to 20 years ago, I predicted this on my blogs. I said that non-monogamy will become more of a cultural norm in the West as monogamy continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I was right. We're not at the point where people are actually openly talking about it. For many years, they were doing it, but hiding it. Now they're doing it, starting to talk about it. So yes, the prediction was accurate. And this will become more common in society as the West continues to collapse and be moved toward the political left. The West, including the United States, including when people like including people like Donald Trump, our president, get more left every 5 years. And I've said it many times, you can make Trump president for life. America will still become more left-wing every 5 years culturally. And so there are bad things when the culture becomes more left, a lot of them. There are good things when the culture becomes more left. One of the good things is less monogamy. So yeah.
When we've got somebody in our life, it's very easy to get into pain when that's our only relationship or our only source for a specific relationship, when it feels like they don't check a lot of these boxes that are very important for us. So you'll see a lot of people in the future here who, when they get into that type of dynamic, they're going to keep that person in that role because they serve that function and add somebody else who offers that other element.
I have said this many, many times in my books and my blogs. I've used that same language using check boxes. One of the many reasons why long-term sexual monogamy does not work in a free society. And I always say, if you want to convert to Islam and move to Iran, then fine, go ahead and do that and you can make monogamy work. I don't see a lot of tradcon right-wing Westerners doing that, so that's not going to happen. So long-term sexual monogamy does not work. Short-term monogamy can work. If you don't mind getting a new girlfriend every 18 months or every 2 years or so, most men do not want that. But if you don't mind doing that, great, be monogamous. Fine. And have 47 girlfriends throughout your life. But if you want something long-term, you're going to have to open it up. That's the way it goes. And the reason is, one of the many reasons that long-term monogamy does not work is because, as I've stated many times on books and my blogs, that one person, that one girlfriend or one wife, and you can only have sex with her because you're a moron, has to be perfect. She has to be good looking. That's hard enough. And she has to be smart. And she has to be decent with money. And she has to be the same religion as you. And if you're an American, she has to be the same political persuasion as you. She has to love Trump like you do. Good luck. And the sex has to be good. And she has to keep fucking you forever. As I've talked about many times, biological data here, when a woman moves in with a man and gets monogamous, within 3 years, she cuts back on the sex. That's how women are wired. Good luck. And not only does she have to be hot, she has to stay hot forever. So you marry her when she's 27 and smoking hot. Is she going to be smoking hot when she's 64? Then what are you going to do? Dumbass? Yeah. So you have to have all these boxes you have to check. This one person has to basically be a goddess and basically be perfect. I don't know if you've noticed, women aren't perfect. No such thing. And men aren't either. This applies the other way around. When women seek for a monogamous male partner, it's the same exact thing. That guy has to be fucking perfect, and he has to be perfect forever. Whereas when you're non-monogamous, and I've been non-monogamous now for almost 20 years, when you're non-monogamous, you can be with someone and have a relationship with someone, casual, dating, girlfriend, or even wife and mother of your children, any one of those, and she doesn't need to be perfect. She doesn't have to check all the boxes. For example, I have had many FBs, and you can too. You can have an FB now, for no benefits, that's it. You can have an FB who is really hot and the sex is great, and she checks no other boxes. I've had FBs in the past who were good in bed, really hot, and no other positive qualities. Dumb, sometimes drug addicts, horrible people, mean to people, not mean to me. I don't do drama, but mean to everyone else. Live fucked up lives. Who cares? If it's an FB, that's okay. Wear a good condom, and have all the fun you want. It's okay. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, I've been married for more than about 10 years now, non-monogamously, and I love my wife, Pink Firefly, to death. Love her to death. But is she perfect? Does she check every single box I possibly have for a perfect woman? Now, to be fair, close. She is close. She checks most of them. Does she check all of them? No, she's very hot to me. Big tits, very skinny, fit, hot, great. She has a small butt. I like big, giant asses. She doesn't have that, so she doesn't check all the boxes. But I'm non-monogamous, so it's okay. My FBs on the side can have these gigantic asses, and they do. So it covers all the bases when you suddenly don't have to have this one person check all the boxes. It's a lot easier to have 2 women or 3 women or 4 women, insert whatever number you're comfortable with. That's more than 1 and more than 0. So more than 1, 2 is fine. To have 2 or more women check all the boxes, then have one magical goddess woman that you're never going to find check all these boxes. And that's one of the major reasons why long-term monogamy doesn't work. You cannot find a perfect partner. I'm sorry.
Of course, to do that is not just going to be a simple feat, because we're going to have to disconnect our very painful self-concept from monogamy, basically, in order to step into that. And that's not an easy feat.
That's the end of the clip. I'll get to the comments in a second. We have to remove our self-concept from monogamy. So I've described this before, also in my books and my blogs. In the 1990s, 2 fundamental pillars of Western society were destroyed, went away, and are never coming back. Let me say that again. They are never coming back. I don't care how many Republicans you vote for. These 2 things are never coming back. They are and were lifetime employment and lifetime marriage. So prior to the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, you could reliably plan on, when you were a young man, getting a job at a big company and working there for the next 35, 40 years. And the company would just take care of you. You'd make a good living. You'd have a good retirement, good pension. You could retire, get a nice cold watch. It was a pretty good deal. In the 90s, that was destroyed forever. Gone. Because of right sizing and downsizing and outsourcing and technology and automation and women into the workforce and 10,000 reasons. That's gone. That's no longer the thing. Now, I was born in 1972. So when I was little and I was a teenager in the 80s, I lived in an environment where you could get a job and rely on having that job for 40 years. When I was in my 20s, in the 90s, that went away. What also went away in the 90s? Lifetime marriage. The divorce rates got so bad in the 90s because the baby boomers took over society, and the baby boomers were, at that time, the most left-wing generation we had ever seen before. Now the millennials and Gen Z have said, hold my beer, Western collapse. But when the baby boomers took over and the population the culture shifted to the left, marriage went away. Not marriage, lifetime marriage. The divorce rates skyrocketed. Now, here's the difference between those two things. This is what she's referring to. When lifetime employment went away, society adjusted. They didn't want to adjust. They were very angry about this, but they did adjust. Society realized, most people in the Western world said, okay, I can't get a job for a big company and rely on that for the next 27 years, so I've got to do something else. Some people, like myself in the tech field when I was a kid, got a new job every 2 years. It's called free agent mentality instead of employee mentality. We shifted to that. That was one thing. Then people did gigs, Uber and Uber Eats and DoorDash and crap like that. Some people did gigs. Some people did TaskRabbit, or some people sold stuff on eBay. The point is that when people realized they couldn't rely on lifetime employment anymore, they changed their behaviors and they pivoted to make it work more or less to pay their bills. Now, again, they didn't like it. And those who are my age or older, you remember in the 90s, there was a lot of bitching and moaning and screaming about this, about how horrible this all was. Early 2000s too. People were very angry about this, but they adjusted and they changed their behaviors. Good. That's what you need to do, especially when you live in a rapidly collapsing society. You have to pivot. You have to be flexible and change what you're doing. Now, did they do this with lifetime marriage? No, they did not do this. With lifetime employment go away, they said, all right, fine, we acknowledge this is happening, we got to change our behaviors. When lifetime marriage went away, they said, nope, la, 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 fuck you, we're still getting married. And people still continue to get married. 90s, 2000s, 2020s, 2010s. Now, the red pill narrative is that, oh no, men were running away from marriage starting around the 2010s, and that is false. If you look at the data back then, and I showed this on my blogs, and now, men in their 20s ran away from marriage, but as soon as they hit their 30s, they got married. So eventually, men did get married, and by and large, they still are. Less people are getting married, and there are less people who are married because they're getting married later. But they still are getting fucking married. And they're still getting divorced and divorced and divorced, and the divorce rate since the 90s, when it was too high, skyrocketed. I just did a gigantic video podcast a few months ago on all the divorce statistics. Today, the divorce rate and the marriage failure rate and the monogamy failure rate and the cheating rate have all increased despite the fact that less people are getting married and they're waiting longer to get married. That's how bad monogamy has become. And people are still like, la, 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 no, I don't want to talk about it. I still want to get married. I still want to get monogamous. They will not emotionally adjust to this. So we have more divorces and more men being destroyed by child support and more men being destroyed by alimony and more fucked up kids being destroyed by these horrible divorces, because people will not, most people, okay, the masses, will not finally say like adults, all right, fine, long-term monogamy doesn't work, let's figure out a different system. They refuse to do it even now. Many of you are still monogamous or trying to get monogamous. You might say, well, I'm never getting married. You're getting monogamous though, aren't you? Right. When you talk about non-monogamy to men, what do men say? Well, I'm not going to let my girlfriend fuck another guy. I ain't no cuck. And then their brain shuts off. My wife doesn't fuck other guys. I fuck other women every week. My wife does not fuck other men. How do I know? I just saw her last November. We're living apart for the moment. She comes back in a month. And I hadn't seen her in about 10 months. And we had sex. And without getting into TMI, physically, it was difficult. I'll just put it that way. Physically, it was painful for her. Yeah, because she wasn't fucking anyone else. My women in Paraguay, same thing. I'm gone for 7 months. I come back and see them. They haven't fucked anyone else. So I have to be very gentle. And there's a lot of pain. Sometimes there's even bleeding involved because they don't. Women don't necessarily fuck other guys in non-monogamous relationships. Women are not like men. You fucking morons. But men, the vast majority, do not want to hear that. If you say long-term monogamy doesn't work, they go, la, 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 no. What do women, and it's not just men, women too. What do women say? I would never. I have self-respect. I would never be in a relationship like this. I should be enough. And their brain shuts off. And they get broken up with and cheated on and divorced and cheated on and broken up with and divorced and but they still keep going back to try monogamy again for the 47th fucking time. because human beings in the West, for some reason, are so addicted emotionally to this concept of lifetime monogamy, which hasn't existed for 30 fucking years. The 90s was 30 fucking years ago, 25 years ago at least, right? Holy shit. Now, let me show you some of the comments that people left on this video. Random comments, okay? Personal opinion. You can have unmet needs met by learning to love and know yourself more, which is a byproduct of attracting a better mate. Fantasy bullshit. That doesn't mean anything. Love yourself more. Find a better mate. That's what the pickup artist said 15 years ago when I was on pickup artist forums saying monogamy didn't work. Not all of them. The majority of them said, Caleb, you're wrong. You just got to find a good girl. If you find the right girl, she'll be monogamous to you for 67 years and you'll never have to worry about it ever again. False, demonstratively and objectively and factually false. There's something deeply meaningful and inherently special when you find a partner where you can both have each other's backs. None of that requires monogamy. I have my wife's back and she's got mine, and we're not monogamous. Okay. I'm polyamorous. I've never been happier in my life. Cool. I see the exact opposite in my Gen Z son and his friends, because this is anecdotal, doesn't mean anything. They want commitment and total monogamy. It's inspiring. They want it. Are they getting it? Is your Gen Z son and his Gen Z friends staying monogamous for 20 years? You know the answer. Again, we're addicted to this. Valid point. The question is, we as humanity have been struggling to do much to form true connections to others due to a general lack of emotional awareness. How are we able to manage that with multiple people? Very easy. It's called OLTR. Hang on a second. Let me have a drink. I have the answers for all these things. When you say non-monogamy, people like this and a lot of tradcons who shit on non-monogamy immediately assume multiple girlfriends, multiple wives. No. OLTR. One wife or one girlfriend and FBs on the side who are just your friends. Then you can emotionally manage it. You love her. You don't love anyone else. It works great. Been doing it for 10 years. That's the answer. You just have to think it through and say, well, what about this? I'm not doing it. Go back to monogamy. The answer is not to compare monogamy to nothing and then say, we have to do monogamy. Sorry. There's about 9 or 10 forms of non-monogamy, some of which I don't like. I'm not into polyamory. I'm not into that. Okay, that's one. But that's only one way to be non-monogamous. FBs, MLTRs, OLTR, polyamory, Mediterranean marriage, threesome. You have so many options. Swinging. So stupid. The radical movement to not need anyone or seeing monogamy is a threat to freedom is so sad. Let me say this. Let me read this again. The radical movement to not need anybody or seeing monogamy as a threat to freedom is so sad. Oh, this person agrees with me. Okay. So many living out their fear and trauma rather than face the most scary parts of themselves. Interesting. Let's see here. This would never work for me. How much you want to bet that's a woman? It is. It's a woman. That's a woman saying, well, this would never work for me. Will monogamy work for you, sweetheart? Will long-term, are you going to marry a guy, stay married and monogamous for 56 years? Because that's the plan. Death to us part, right? I find it incredibly messy. Yeah, that's polyamory. Don't do that. Emotionally and energetically, I have zero interest in entertaining polyamory. There we go. Okay. Polyamory is not the only form of non-monogamy. I've seen that happen even in the red pill world. They'll say, oh, polyamory is for betas. So instead of saying non-monogamy or open relationships, they jump to the word polyamory and they say, polyamory is for betas. Look at this example. And then they show the classic video they used to show 10 years ago. There's many of them now. Some gross older woman and these two pussy betas sitting on the couch next to her. And she has two boyfriends and they only fuck her. And she's this dominant bitch. And she's like, oh, I love having two boyfriends. And the two little betas like, yeah, it's great. Sometimes I'm downstairs and they have sex upstairs and I just eat cornflakes and And these red pill guys say, see, that's not the models I recommend at all, as you're well aware. Hi, honey, you're not enough, so I need to add someone else. It's not you. By the way, that's factually accurate. He's trying to be funny. It's me and my pain. I'm trying to get stuff from other people that I should have already have inside me. What? Gobbledygook, emotional gobbledygook. You don't require non-monogamy or sexual variety, especially as a man, because there's something wrong with you. That's another part of the myth. Well, the only people who need to, non-monogamy, fuck, something's wrong. People who are immature, people who have, mental problems. No, men are biologically wired to have sex with multiple women. If you're a man and you want to have sex with someone besides your wife or girlfriend, congratulations, you are normal and you are healthy. That is exactly how you are wired and designed. It is staying monogamous sexually to one woman for 47 years that is the aberration. That is the nature aberration. You were never designed to do this. So this person is a complete moron. What's the reply here? I'm not poly, but from the people I see pick it, it's more like they have a few close friends with whom they are friends and lovers, and it's what their partners want too. Accurate. Great. Here's another comment. Yeah, no, so many people have spun out and done the again, we're back to polyamory, the experimentation that Gen Z is trending toward conservative relationships instead. Not true. I'm not seeing that. And I am also seeing, as I've talked about many times, more Gen Z people not having sex at all, including hot girls who just stay home all day and scroll on Instagram and they don't even go out. Personally, I'm so bored with how online spiritual communities keep trying to make poly happen because the novelty gets engagement, only to find out that it's a phase. You mean like monogamy? That's a phase too. And it's a disaster 99% of the time. Unlike monogamy, what's the marriage success rate in the Western world right now? You know what it is? It's about 6-7%. So monogamy has a failure rate of, what? 96-ish percent, 93-ish percent. So again, what are you comparing it to? One more comment. Non-monogamy, finally someone who says non-monogamy, okay, great, has its rewards and also its challenges. Yeah, like monogamy, except non-monogamy can work long-term. Monogamy can't. There's scheduling, for instance. Why is that a deal breaker? There's STIs to look out for. Condoms, STD tests. I've been non-monogamous for almost 20 years. I just had my last STD test 5 months ago. I'm 100% clean. I can test for everything. There's jealousy. There's no jealousy in monogamy? Are you insane? Have you seen social media before? There's always a potential threat to the primary relationship. Unlike monogamy, what's the monogamy failure rate? 90 plus percent. At the end of the day, it's how you can be radically honest. Okay, anyway. So you're bitching about the same exact things that you'll have with monogamy. I don't know if Western society will ever emotionally get to the point where they will accept non-monogamy, not polyamory, non-monogamy as a viable option. It might always be kind of a niche thing where a lot of people are doing it, but very few people are talking about it, and everyone pretends to be monogamous. And the divorce rate just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And the breakup rate keeps going up and up and up. And the number of people who cheat in monogamous relationships go up and up and up. We may never reach a point where society says, Western society says, okay, you know what, guys? We got to come up with a different system here. That may never happen. I don't know. We'll see.